What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the Foxbody, where it come from and where it's going. So as everyone knows, this is a Foxbody channel, so I'm a little biased, but let's talk about a little bit of the history with the Foxbodies, maybe why they were so popular and why they are so popular again today.
From the furnaces at Ford, it's Mustang GT, the boss for 1983. Hot new styling. New 4-barrel carburetor, a 5-liter high-output engine. The boss, the 175 horsepower Mustang GT. One hot piece of American steel. Have you driven a Ford lately?
So for those of you who don't know, the Foxbody platform is now 40 years old. It's actually a little over 40 years old. So the Foxbody started in 1979 and ran till the 1993 model year. Now obviously in 78 these cars started hitting the showrooms. Immediately these cars were pretty popular. Let's face it, guys, before that there was, it was the 71 through 73 Mach 1s, huge cars, not great on power. And then you had the Mustang 2. Oh man. You know, a lot of people like the Mustang 2s, but they didn't have the power and they just weren't performance cars. They looked more like a Pinto is really what they looked like. So when this came out, this was very refreshing. It had more of a European styling to it, and I think it just appealed to the masses. Now there's no way Ford could have known the following that these cars would have. But here we are in 2019 and we're still talking about Foxbodies, more so than any car out there, guys. Think about it. Third gen Camaros are cool cars. I like them. I'm not a hater when it comes to that, guys. I like the third gens and other cars too. But these are the cars. Let's talk about why they are so popular today. First off, let's look at the styling of the cars. I mean, you could argue that they're very dated. I get that. So let's look back right before these cars came out. So we didn't see a lot of these urethane bumpers and this slick European styling. What we had was more of the obviously chrome bumpers, chrome trim, everything. So these cars kind of changed the game. When you get into the chrome bumpers, stuff like that, you're getting into the 60s and 70s cars, no doubt. There again, this was still a 70s platform, but it was late 70s. So I just think it appeals to the masses more so because it doesn't have all the flashy chrome. You can do these cars in a million different ways. Plus, there's 3 different body styles to these cars. So as you all know, this is a GT body style here. So it's going to have the ground effects, and it's also going to have this hatch. So the hatch is going to pop up on the GT models and the LX hatchbacks, which brings me to something else. Then we have the coupe cars. I'll show you guys a picture of a trunk car right here. I'll show you guys Andrew's car. So this is a trunk car. Not a lot you can do with the trunk cars. They are what they are. They're also called notchbacks. Those cars are really lightweight and they're just completely different than these. Next up, we have the LX hatchback. This car is actually an LX hatchback. Basically what I did was just take this car, strip it all the way down, put a Cobra body kit on it, wing, wheels, tires, all that stuff. So you can turn an LX hatchback into a GT or into a Cobra clone, whatever you want to do. So I think they're just very versatile cars. You know, let's talk about performance now. Performance wise, you may laugh. These cars came with 200 to 225 horsepower. I know, right? It's funny these days. But back in the day, these cars were quick. Really, there were only a few cars off the showroom floor that would outrun one of these cars. One of those was a Grand National, and there was a couple others, like maybe some of the new Corvettes. It just really came down to the driver, though. So you could put a set of gears, some underdrive pulleys, do a couple little cheap free mods to these cars, and man, they would respond really well. They're very light cars. Even the GTs are light, but the coupes were even lighter. So everything around that time period were still kind of heavy cars. The Grand National did make a lot of power, no doubt. So that was really this car's main competition. The Camaro was, yeah, they went back and forth. The Camaro and the Mustang went back and forth, but these are 302s in these cars. To get a Camaro to run with one of these, you really needed a 350 in it. Well, it was kind of common practice for GM to not put the 5-speed behind the 350 cars. I know, doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But back in the day, automatics were not as fast as they are today. I mean, you're talking about old school torque converter automatics. Same with the AODs that are in these Mustangs. They didn't shift very good, and honestly, if you were going to the car lot to buy the faster of the 2 cars, you always went with the 5-speed. It didn't matter if you weren't even a good driver, you could probably manage to outrun that automatic car beside you.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
As we all know, things have changed nowadays. So these cars are very slow in comparison to what's coming out now. This is where the Foxbody stands apart from the rest of these cars. Nobody really seems to care. Do we care that these cars only made 200 horsepower? No, not really. They're still quick cars. They have 300 foot-pounds of torque from the factory, and they're just good running cars. Plus, you can modify them very, very easily and pretty cheaply. You can put a set of GT40 heads on these cars, an Alphabet cam. You can go to the Trick Flow cams, Anderson cams. There's just so many cams out there that just drop in these cars, and they respond very well. You can put a GT40 upper and lower intake off of, say, like a Explorer or something like that. GT40 heads, GT40 intake, a set of gears, and a good driver, and you'd be surprised what these cars can do. Now, a fellow YouTuber, 50 Tussin, if you guys want to see one of these cars run and what they can do pretty much stock, check out 50 Tussin. I'll put a link down here for you guys to check that out. That'll show you what these cars are still capable of doing to this day. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can buy one of these cars and do a couple modifications and go out run one of these new ZR ones or ZL ones or even a new just stock Coyote. You're not going to do that, but they are quick cars and they are fun still. Just the nostalgia of these cars. You know, when you look at these, you think 80s, you think 90s, right? Every one of you remembers somebody that had a new 50 Mustang. Back in the day, we didn't call them Foxbodies. That really didn't start until the 2000s, at least not around here anyway. So these were the 5.0 Mustangs. If somebody said they had a new GT, you knew what it was. You knew it had to be one of these cars right here. If somebody said they had an LX, they usually included the 5.0 behind that. So that way it let you know, because they did make the LX in a 4-cylinder car. But everybody knew somebody that had one of these cars. I mean, it defines the 80s and the 90s. And for me, you know, we always had these cars. We always had one, and the sound that these things make with a Flowmaster exhaust is just phenomenal. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and start this thing up. Before we start it up though, let's go ahead and look at the interior. I mean, a lot of people hate on the interiors of these cars, but let's be honest, it's not that bad. I have seen so much worse. Now, I've talked about this a few times in the past, but these cars are so comfortable. These actually come out of an 09, these seats right here, but you can't do this with these new cars. Check this out. You just slide in. You see what I'm saying? Check out the way these cars are made. They're just comfortable. You know, the stock seats are just as comfortable or more comfortable than these seats. There's just something about the amount of room you have. It's almost like an old school bench seat setup, meaning like, I mean, these things are flat across. You know, you don't have all this big stuff up in your way. I prefer this. I like it. I don't like to feel like I'm in a cockpit. Anyway, the styling on these cars on the inside, definitely subjective. I prefer it. It looks really good to me. And the iconic 5-speed slap. Listen, guys. Anybody that's been around these cars for years knows the sound of that. I could be in a completely dark parking lot and I hear that, and I know that that is a 5.0 Mustang. Now, my car is not very loud. This car has off-road H-pipe and 2-chamber Flowmasters with turn downs. So the camera really doesn't like to pick this up, but I'm going to try my best to get this thing down here and let you hear this 5.0 Mustang sound. So as you can see, the sound that these cars make are just iconic. There's nothing else really like it out there. Even the Ford trucks that had the 302s in them did not sound like the Foxbody Mustangs. I don't know why that was, but it is what it is. All right, real quick, let's go under the hood and talk about that. So underneath the hood, you have a 5.0 roller engine. So this is a 302 with a roller camshaft in it. Now this come out in 1986. For the 1986 model year, the Foxbodies had a roller engine. What does that really mean and what does that really matter? Well, if you think about it, there's more horsepower, it's less friction. Also, you can slap a cam in one of these things with 100,000 miles on it and never really have to change the lifters. The lifters really didn't wear out on these cars, or at least like a flat tappet lifter would anyway. You guys, any of you old school guys know the flat tappet setups were aggravating. If you didn't install the cam right and you didn't lubricate it right and you didn't have enough zinc, you could completely destroy your camshaft. Plus, you can rev these things a little bit higher, and they're just more efficient. So the Foxbody saw a lot of changes through its years. The Foxbody platform lasted for around 15 years, and it saw a lot of changes, guys. We saw fuel injection for the first time hit the Mustangs. So we got to witness all of this happen in the Foxbody. So in the 93 Cobras, they came with front and rear disc brakes, so we got to witness that. The suspension on these cars are great. They're really good suspensions. If you ever pay attention, guys, a lot of people are swapping the 8.8 rear ends into other cars. They're just a very universal, strong rear end. But back to the engines for a second. I just remember when these things come out, man, we were so scared of these cars. You know, they were fuel injected, nobody knew how to work on them, and we were terrified of them. But now look how simple these things are in comparison to everything out there. But look how much room you have on these. You actually have room to work in comparison to others out there these days. When the fuel injection model come out, that was the game changer for the Foxbodies. So in 1989, these cars were then mass air. What did mass air allow you to do? Well, that allowed you to put a camshaft, to put heads, to put bigger injectors, upper and lower intakes, all of this crazy stuff. And to be honest with you, these cars would accept it. Did it benefit you to get a custom dyno tune? Absolutely. But you could throw parts at these cars and they responded very well, which leads me to the aftermarket world. You guys can thank the Foxbody Mustang for the explosion of the aftermarket world. It really started with the Foxbodies. It really hit home. Let's go back before that. What companies made parts specifically for a brand of car, a type of car? Not really anybody. Did you see entire businesses start up just from Mustang parts before that? For Mustang 2 parts or Mach 1 parts or Camaro parts or anything like that? No. None of that existed until the Foxbody really took off in popularity, which honestly happened when they went fuel injected and they went mass air. The aftermarket world blew up, guys, and we have the Foxbody to thank for it. So in closing, I don't really know what makes these cars so popular, but I want to hear down in the comment section below why you guys think that the Foxbody is such an icon. Why do you think these cars are so popular to this day and probably will continue to be? Everyone has seen the prices of the Cobra R from 1993, how much that thing went for on Barrett-Jackson. We've seen real Cobras, how much they go for. Remember, this is a clone, guys. But we've seen how much these real Cobras can go for now. That's that, guys. I'm going to go ahead, wrap this video up. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me why you think Foxbodies are so iconic. And as always, thanks for watching.